What if I told you there was a way to not only improve your health, but make a difference in the health of the planet as well, and make life better for generations to come? Well, there is a way, and it's easy. I spent my entire childhood eating in a very American diet. Steak and potatoes were very common in our household. I remember meeting a vegetarian when I was around 10 years old and not even comprehending why or how they didn't eat meat. I thought they were super weird. When I was 16 years old, I went to a punk show that handed out leaflets on vegetarian and veganism. As I looked at it, I saw how badly the animals were treated on those large factory farms and immediately started researching. About 2 weeks later, I became vegan, and though I'm not vegan anymore, I've been vegetarian since then, a whole 16 years. By making small changes in our diets and eliminating or reducing the amount of meat we consume, we can improve our health and the environment. Today I will discuss the impacts of factory farming on our health and the environment, steps we can take to help our health and the environment, and what the world would look like if we depended less on the dairy and meat industry. Why is it important to limit our meat consumption? Well, let's take a look at how eating meat impacts our health. The World Health Organization classified processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same category as tobacco smoking and asbestos. Processed meats are, for example, bacon and hot dogs. In the British Journal of Cancer, they found links to red meat consumption and breast cancer, specifically postmenopausal breast cancer. Within the same study, they noted that those who consumed more red meat had on average higher BMIs. According to Dr. Hu of Harvard School of Public Health, the evidence shows that people with a relatively low intake of meat have lower health risks. According to numerous studies, there's a lot of evidence that a plant-based eating style reduces type 2 diabetes, but healthcare providers don't inform patients as much because they tend to be turned off by this information. If there was something that could prevent us from getting a horrible disease like type 2 diabetes, why wouldn't we do it? Another thing to be concerned about regarding factory farming is its contribution to antibiotic resistance. The animals are preemptively given antibiotics to prevent infection, but these general doses, without an animal actually needing them or being sick, can create antibiotic immune illnesses. These bugs spread from factory farms, not just from eating meat, but through the water that's been contaminated and through the air as well. In a 2009 article on the effects of factory farming, they stated, although the specter of pandemic flu, in which a virulent strain of the influenza virus recombines with a highly contagious strain to create a bug rivaling that responsible for the 1918 flu pandemic, thought to have killed as many as 50 million people, is the most dire scenario, antibiotic resistance is a clear and present danger. This was in 2009, and they considered this the most dire scenario. It's not hard to see the irony here amid a pandemic that has affected nearly everyone in the entire world. Now that we can see how meat consumption affects us individually, let's take a look at the bigger picture. What is meat consumption's effect on the environment? Union of Concerned Scientists lists meat eating as one of the biggest environmental hazards facing the earth. Animal agriculture is responsible for more greenhouse gases than all of the transportation in the entire world. Many car companies are making the change to electric vehicles, and many areas have goals to completely eliminate non-electric cars by a certain year. So why are we not paying as much attention to the meat industry if they're responsible for more environmental pollution? Food resources are also being used to feed animals, not people. It takes 1,000 times the amount of water to produce 1 pound of meat compared to 1 pound of wheat. Given this knowledge, we could produce 1,000 pounds of wheat instead of 1 pound of meat, which could feed many more people. A farmer can feed up to 30 people throughout the year on 2.5 acres with vegetables, fruits, cereals, and vegetable fats. If the same area is used for producing meat, milk, or eggs, the number of people that can be fed from the same amount of land is 10. That is 3 times the amount of people being fed on the same amount of land. All of the cattle in the world alone consume a quantity of food that is equal to the caloric needs of 8.7 billion people, which is more than the entire human population on Earth. In the United States alone, over 260 million acres of forest have been cleared to make room for crop fields, most of which are used to exclusively grow livestock feed. Clearing land to grow soybeans for chicken feed in the Amazon rainforest is responsible for clearing over 250 million acres of forest, releasing enough carbon into the atmosphere to increase the rate of global warming by 50%. The Environmental Protection Agency says that raising animals for food is the #1 source of water pollution. In 2012, livestock and poultry on the largest factory farms produced 369 million tons of manure, which is almost 13 times more waste than that of the entire US population. This waste is not treated the same way as human waste is, and it seeps into our water supply and also our air. Knowing all of the troubles we face just because of the meat industry, what can we do to change it? One of the best things we can do is to make small steps to eating less meat. According to cardiologist Dr. Hennessy, a diet that's rich in fresh plant foods can help lower your sodium intake to less than about 2 grams daily, which has been shown to reduce blood pressure. Plant food also helps optimize your cholesterol levels to reduce your risk of heart disease. Plants are high in fiber, which has loads of health benefits for your health and body. Insoluble fiber found in foods like vegetables and whole grains helps to control appetite and weight. They also help lower your risk of diabetes, heart disease, and some types of cancer, and prevent constipation. Soluble fiber found in oats, nuts, and seeds, and beans may help lower total cholesterol, blood pressure, and inflammation in the body. Creating goals of eliminating meat in our diets, perhaps by cutting it out one day at a time, can make a huge difference. Dr. Hu says, instead of the main course, use red meat as a side dish. Consider red meat a luxury and not a staple food. A general recommendation is that people should stick to no more than 2 or 3 servings per week. For those that are concerned about nutrition, Dr. Hu also states that you can get the same amounts, and in some cases even more, nutrition from fish, eggs, and nuts, as well as following a plant-based diet. It is a misconception that we must eat red meat to gain muscle mass, get iron, zinc, or B12 in our diets. For people who don't think they can go without because of the taste, there are amazing alternatives to help ease a transition. By reducing meat consumption, we reduce methane emissions caused by factory farms. Reduction of meat consumption can also help us to focus on more sustainable food sources. Focusing more on plants will help eliminate hunger in the world. And if meat is absolutely essential, then hunting is a more sustainable method, and also helps us to focus on the relation of food to ourselves, that killing is actually involved in it. Imagining a world without steak doesn't have to be a downer. The benefits far outweigh the drawbacks. From a health perspective, we can expect to have lower risks of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and obesity from a plant-based diet. Without animal factory farms, the environment will thrive, and as it does, so will the air we breathe and the water we drink. Making these changes in our generation will help future generations to thrive and the world they have been born into. I know this is a lot of information to consider, but they are all attainable and will lead to better lives for everyone. Eating less meat, and maybe one day eliminating it, will help our health and the health of the environment. We learned today the effects that consuming meat has on our bodies, as well as the environment, and we learned the actions we can take to mitigate those effects. Let us be the ones to change the future of our planet so that our children can thrive.